Hi guys, in this video we will discuss different ways to select rows or columns from a data frame either by their name like index name or column names or by their positions like row numbers or by column numbers. We have created a data frame here with some hard coded values and we are going to use this data frame in this video. Like this data frame has 4 columns and 7 rows. Now we will discuss how to select a subset of this data frame based on index labels, column names, or index numbers or column numbers. Let's start. So data frame provides an attribute loc. You can write like this df.loc. After this attribute we need to provide the square bracket. Now inside the square brackets we can provide two kind of information. First is the row related information and second is the column related information. Like this, row related info and column related info. Now this column related info is optional. Okay, so first let's remove this. In the row related information we need to provide the row labels that we want to select. For example, if we want to select the row with label D2 like this, so we can provide the row name here. So it will return us a series containing the row values where the row label was D2. Now suppose we want to select multiple rows by row labels. In that case we can provide a list of row labels like here D4 and D6. So we provided a list of row labels here and it returned a section of data frame containing only these 3 rows where the row label matches with the row label provided in the list. So here we provided only the row related section in the loc attribute. So suppose we want to select these rows but we want to select only 2 columns only, like column A and column B. In that case we can provide the column section here also. Col underscore A. Similarly we can provide col underscore B. Now if we select, so basically it returned a section of data frame containing only 3 rows and 2 columns. So this is how we can use the loc attribute to select a section of data frame based on the row labels and column labels. Now suppose you want to select only 2 columns but all the rows, then in that case you don't need to provide the row section, but row section is the first section, we can't just skip it, so we will provide column. Column means all the rows. Let's execute this. So it returned a section of data frame that includes all the rows but 2 columns. So what does column mean here? Column here means that we are providing a range of index labels, and by empty value means from start to end. So this will include all the rows. Suppose you want to select section of rows, you can say D2, from D2 till D6. So it will select only rows from D2 to D6 and it will include only 2 columns. So we can also provide the column range in the column section. Like suppose we want to select the columns from column A till column C. So here we provided the index label range and the column label range here. So it returned the rows from D2 to D6 and column A to column C. So this is how we can use the loc attribute to select rows from a data frame based on the row labels and index labels. Now instead of providing the label names or column names directly, we can provide some conditions also. Now we want to select only those rows from this data frame where column B contains value from 23 till 25. For that we will write loc. Now inside the loc we will pass a condition. We will select the column underscore B, and we will say should be greater than 23, greater than or equal to 23, and less than or equal to 25. So we applied here an AND operator here. So what it will do, it will select only those rows from the data frame for which this condition satisfies. So how's that works? Let's remove this and first run this condition. So this condition returns a Boolean series where each true value denotes that for these rows this condition satisfies. Now when we pass this Boolean series in the loc attribute, it will return us only those rows for which this condition returns the true. So this is how we can use the loc attribute of data frame to select rows from a data frame based on the conditions. Like here we selected only those rows for which column B has value greater than 23 and less than 25. Now this loc attribute works with index label and column names only. But what if we don't want to operate on the column names or row labels? Instead of it, we want to use the row numbers or column numbers for selecting rows or columns from a data frame. For example, column A has column number 0, column B has column number 1, column C has column number 2. Similarly, row D1 has row number 0, D2 has row number 1. Now to select subset of data frame based on row number or column numbers, data frame provides an attribute iloc. Previous one was the loc, this is iloc. So similar to loc, we need to provide a row section and an optional column section. So iloc will select subset of data frame based on this row section and column section. Now column section is optional. Let's remove this as of now. In the row section we need to provide the row numbers. Suppose we want to select the second row of the data frame, and that is D2. It has the index number 1 because the indexing starts from 0. So if we do like this, it will return a series containing the contents of row number 2, that is D2. Now if we want to select multiple rows based on the row numbers, then you can provide a list of row numbers, like here we provide 1, 2 and 5. So it will return a subset of data frame containing only these 3 rows: row at index number 1, row at index number 2 and row at index number 5 from the main data frame. So similar to loc, we can provide a number range here also. Suppose we want to select all the rows from index number 1 till 6. So it will return 5 rows from row index number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. D2 has index number 1, D3 has index number 2, D4 has index number 3 and D5 has index number 4 and D6 has index number 5. So this AND value will not be included in the result. So that's why it returned only 5 rows. Now suppose we want to select some rows and some column based on the numbers. Now suppose we want to select first 2 rows. So we will say 0, 1, and in the column section we can also provide either a single column number or a list of column numbers or a range of column numbers. So here we are providing column number 1 and 2. So here we selected 2 rows and 2 columns from the data frame. Column number 0, these are the first 2 rows and it represents the second and third column of the data frame. Now instead of column numbers in a list, we can also provide the column range. So it selected 3 columns here, first, second, third, and 2 rows. So this is how we can select rows or columns from a data frame by row number or index number. An important point about loc and iloc is that they return a reference of data frame. What this means, if we select any section of data frame using loc and iloc and we modify its values, then all the modification will be done in the original data frame. For example, let's select a row with label name D4 and assign values 999 here. Now if we type the df here again, so as you can see, it updated the value of row with row label D4. So both loc and iloc returns a reference of selected rows and columns. Any modification into them will be reflected in the original data frame. So that's all for this video. If you like this video and you want more content like this, then please subscribe to this channel and like this video.